Hey, I've got a delay and my screen has been opening up, so now some of the rubber, maybe from the seal, is blocking the camera. It's just a matter of time before it's going to happen. Uh, I'm going to read a little bit from this, show you a couple of things from this. And if you guys, I like this book. I was the first one to get it from the library. And if you guys have any problems with that, is you can let me know. And the way I'm going to respond is just giving you suggestions of ideas for subjects of maps in the second book. Okay. Do you know that right now there's patterns that you can notice throughout your history, and they're certainly present right now with what's happening in the Ukraine. And you know what? I got this book. Volume 1 and Volume 2 I got years later, so I reread Volume 1 and I'm reading Volume 2 now, and I tell you, it's from, I think, 1997, Alex Ross. And it tells you so much about your more accurate history and how you repeat the cycles as the United States of America. But it's the same every country. I mean, one of the main reasons, there's other reasons, but one of the main reasons that your countries and your tribes go to war is the concept of tribes. And that means that you are so busy being at war among yourselves in your own countries most of the time that I think it's a nice change for you to just go to war against somebody else, because you've got flaws up here with the tribe versus tribe mentality. You don't have the right worldviews of ecocentrism, so that you can stop being at war with yourselves. Here's one map here. It kind of talks about whether a country does decimal points in this way or in this way. And what's strange is Canada is can't make up their minds. They're kind of accepting all three. And speaking of Canada here, this one is about how to write the date. Okay, and as you can see, Canada uses all three because they kind of want to please everybody, right? So they can't pick anything to really stand for, or give a reason why they selected a particular way to do things. And that's kind of weird and sad to belong to such a society. Most recurring word on each country's English Wikipedia page, including country, linking words, demonyms, and government. So Canada has Quebec as the word most recurring, except il n'y a pas d'accent aigu. It's a nice change that some of my family members know a little bit what's happening in international news, or at least some international news and some parts of it. Of course, if they're new to it, because, it's so overwhelmingly in the news now, but they have very little from the past to reference. They don't have a good understanding of what it is. So in a way, when events like this happen and people are kind of have no choice because it's such a part of the news they regularly watch without reference, it's almost like it's a manufacturing of consent, and they don't have an understanding or enough background, right? Because most of the news channels won't take the time to explain background and things like that, and things that are interconnected in systems. So they often jump to conclusions, and whatever they were redneck about, they're going to get more redneck about. So it's kind of nice that they know a little bit about things happening outside of their jurisdiction. But do you know what's sad, and that is impacting not just every people primate in the world, like the war in the Ukraine, but there are things impacting every type of living creature on the planet right now. And it is, in the last week or so, the unprecedented heat waves in both the Arctic and the Antarctic. So if we had sapience and sentience, we would put that in news a lot more in the past week, and we didn't. So we have to ask ourselves, how connected are we to the planet that we live on as compared to the illusion of what we believe are concepts of civilization? Hey, this is Open Borders of the World, and it has an asterisk, but I don't think it explains on this side, on this page here. But look at this. Canada's included, and pretty much almost every country on the continent of Africa. But what I find weird is that traveling to Uganda and getting to know the situation of the people there is, do you know that Canada and other countries associating themselves with Uganda is as bad as countries associating themselves with Russia right now? And it is because people in that country are kept way too poor to even acquire a passport, much less finding the fees to actually, become refugees somewhere else, and nobody's coming to help. And that there'd be no place they can go with the certainty that people in the Ukraine are getting now leaving. Speaking of people leaving Ukraine, this is a map of Poland in red there, and in green are the countries that have previously at some point invaded Poland. I'm not going to say much about this one. You can read it. I was very close to North Korea. Okay, I spent about 6 months in Ujambu in South Korea and studying the South Korean cultures as a culture repair that first assesses. I could tell you that I would be very surprised if getting a sample of the population to study from North Korea, that they would have more variety or more advanced forms of mental illness than in South Korea. Still, how do we evaluate a society? How do we evaluate a people? Do we use, the monetary paradigm, happiness, resilience, stability of mind, the ability to handle hardships or to connect to reality, or if the potential for their situations to improve or get worse? And I can tell you that I can't say that I have information to say that North Korea would be in any worse scenario than South Korea. This one is the opposite kind of thing, map. But don't you think it's weird with all the news stations and all the types of media to access news and the internet? Don't you think it's weird that most of you have either no information about North Korea or that you're certain you do? When, that's just crazy to think you are certain to know what it's like over there. And that we live in a world where, there's access to information a lot more than what is presented in the news, but nobody kind of wants to go get it. And nobody kind of cares as much about what's happening there as other places and the reasons for that. Don't you think it's weird that you're like that as a species? And you've been like that for quite a while. The book I showed you here is showing that the same patterns from a long time ago in your history, and this was written in 97, are still happening today. Don't you think it's weird that you guys are stuck in these patterns, and now you are kind of insecure about having all these weapons of mass destruction, as you unconsciously kind of know that you are so far from even questioning the reasons why you are not even trying to break the cycles of your history and not repeat and repeat and repeat and shampoo and rinse and repeat and conditioner and rinse and repeat. I had a girlfriend in the early 90s who already had a bachelor's in geography, so I wonder if she knew about this concept. I wonder if it was written or if it was mentioned or how much of it was mentioned, and if she ever did projects about this. That'd be a great project for everybody to do at some point in an assignment in a geography course, is to do different kind of maps, because there has been different versions of maps, and then there are different ways, like this book is a little bit showing. It's usually using the same kind of format, but there are ways to see the Earth or to see the countries or the relationships between various ecological environments or continents or populations or ethnicities in very, very different ways. In the second edition of this, I think you should do a map that includes the people primate animal that have access to biological or chemical weapons on the list here, included with what we consider to us to be venomous animals. Yep. We are definitely the wildcats on this planet right now, more dangerous than any other felines from the past. I'll finish up with one more pause. Okay, let's finish with this last one here because of the unprecedented heat waves in the Arctic and Antarctic. Here's a map of redneckism. So Florida kind of, I think, believes, if I'm reading this correctly here, in climate change about 400%. 40% of the people do. When, pretty soon there'll be, a large portion very soon of the population whose properties will, go down in value because, sewer systems mixed into every room in their homes will not increase the property, it'll decrease it. And insurance companies will call it, just like Will Smith, an act of God or the devil or whatever. So, but it is happening very, very soon, and that Florida will not be a very habitable place for the people primates. So thank you to the author of this book. I like what he said in the last paragraph, where he's taken responsibility for his mistakes. And here is the website that he has, and he described also the support he had to do this book, which is very beautiful and very useful because it offers different perspectives to see the world. I hope you enjoy this vlog that references something other than just you as a species, although mostly that's what it was.